They were the first modern terrorists and the forerunner of al-Qaeda. But these days, the Muslim Brotherhood is trying to become mainstream.
And not only in countries like Egypt, but in Washington, D.C. Eric Stakelbeck takes a look at the group's growing influence within the United States government.
The final chapter of the so-called Arab Spring has yet to be written. Yet more and more it appears that radical Islamic forces could emerge as the big winners, and none more so than the Muslim Brotherhood. In Egypt, Tunisia, Libya, Syria, and Jordan, the Brotherhood has used unrest to increase its influence. According to one expert, the group is also making inroads closer to home.
Their goal is primarily deception, manipulation, and intelligence gathering.
Former FBI Special Agent John Guandalo says Brotherhood operatives have infiltrated the halls of power in Washington, D.C.
What we're seeing inside not just the White House, but inside the government entities, the national security entities, State Department, a strong push by the Muslim Brotherhood to get their people in.
Chief among these operatives, he says, is the Islamic Society of North America, or ISNA. In 2007, ISNA was named as a co-conspirator in the largest terrorism financing trial in American history. Likewise, the FBI has uncovered internal Muslim Brotherhood documents naming ISNA as, quote, one of our organizations and the organizations of our friends. Nevertheless, when President Obama wanted a Muslim to pray at his inauguration, his administration turned to ISNA's then-president, Ingrid Mattson. And at a recent White House iftar dinner, current ISNA head Mohammed Majid sat just a few feet away from the president.
Mohammed Majid was sitting at the front table right in front of Barack Obama, but when the official White House list of attendees was published, his name was curiously missing.
Another American Muslim group that's been linked to both the Muslim Brotherhood and Hamas is the Council on American Islamic Relations, or CAIR. The FBI refuses to meet with CAIR over its ties to terrorism. But top White House advisor Valerie Jarrett recently praised the group for taking part in an MTV anti-bullying campaign.
The U.S. government knows that these are Muslim Brotherhood operatives because federal prosecutors have gone into federal court and said that they're Muslim Brotherhood operatives.
One such operative is Kifa Mustafa. In 2010, he was given a tour of both FBI headquarters and the National Counterterrorism Center, despite long-standing ties to the terror group Hamas. Hamas identifies itself as the Palestinian branch of the Muslim Brotherhood.
We know that the Muslim Brotherhood, from their own documents, has said that they've wanted to infiltrate all layers of government and civil society here in America to destroy it from within.
Obama administration officials say they're now engaged in direct contacts with the Muslim Brotherhood in Egypt. That outreach policy apparently extends to the Brotherhood in America as well.
Shocking, shocking. Eric is with us now from Washington. Eric, is it stupidity or duplicity that we're dealing with in the White House?
You know, Pat, I think it's a combination. Number one, the officials around President Obama, his advisors, his intelligence officials, truly believe that the Muslim Brotherhood is a moderate group. They really believe this, Pat, even though they are the granddaddy of them all when it comes to Islamic terror groups. We saw it back in February as Egypt was in flames. The director of national intelligence, our top intelligence guy in this administration, James Clapper, called the Muslim Brotherhood a secular group. Now, Pat, they believe that the Muslim Brotherhood is secular, is moderate, is opposed to violence because the Muslim Brotherhood says so in its statements. So because the Brotherhood says it, we should believe them. They got to be honest guys, right? This is the philosophy in this administration, and they believe that the Muslim Brotherhood can be used as a counterweight to al-Qaeda, even though former al-Qaeda leaders like Osama bin Laden, Khalid Sheikh Mohammed were members of the Muslim Brotherhood as young men.
Well, they selected Yasser Arafat and sent him into Israel, and formed the Palestine Liberation Organization, which is a very radical group. That was a Muslim Brotherhood operation, the entire thing.
Absolutely, Pat. The Brotherhood is the most influential Islamic jihadist group in the world, bar none. And Muslim Brotherhood documents, Pat, talk about the Brotherhood's plans not only for the Middle East, but for America. Internal Muslim Brotherhood documents uncovered by our FBI in 2004, just a few miles from where I'm sitting here in Washington, D.C. Their own documents lay out their strategy for America. And, Pat, I have one of the documents right here. I have to read you the Muslim Brotherhood strategy for America, and here it is. It says the Muslim Brothers must understand that their work in America is a kind of grand jihad in eliminating and destroying Western civilization from within. Now, Pat, that's not just me saying it. That's the Muslim Brotherhood's own documents laying out their strategy for America, yet they are honored guests at the White House.
You know, this is horrifying to me. They're going to bring down Western civilization from within, a grand jihad, and we are the subject of that jihad. Eric, nobody's talking about this, though. You don't see this in the media. Why is everybody so silent?
Complete ignorance, Pat. What's the first rule of war? Know your enemy. I can count probably on one hand, Pat, the amount of mainstream media reporters, but the amount of our elected officials, unfortunately, who've actually studied the Muslim Brotherhood, studied their documents. This is readily available online. But here at CBN News, we've done special shows on this, Stakelbeck on Terror show. We've done special panels all about the Brotherhood, especially since the so-called Arab Spring. But it seems the narrative in the mainstream media and in the White House is that the Arab Spring is a great thing and that the Muslim Brotherhood is no longer violent. They've moderated, Pat, because they say so. So we have to take the jihadists at their word.
Last question. What influence are they now having in Egypt? I thought they probably would take over. Are they doing that or not?
Massive, massive influence, Pat. They are the main power brokers in Egypt. Now, this weekend, we saw this violence, churches being burned, Coptic Christians being attacked, being slaughtered in the streets. Now, you have the Muslim Brotherhood and the Egyptian military apparently have some kind of truce going on, it seems like, from what's going on the ground there. Now, elections are scheduled in Egypt for November. They may be postponed again due to this latest round of violence. But I think, Pat, maybe not in the short term, but in 5 years, 4 years, the Muslim Brotherhood, because they are the most ruthless force in Egypt, will eventually rise to power there.
Eric, thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm shocked, if you're not shocked. President of the United States is bringing into his closest counsel here in a luncheon sitting next to him or at the same table with him, violent radical revolutionaries who say that their goal is to undermine our civilization, and there they are with the president.
Pat, GOP presidential candidate Mitt Romney may have to go on the defensive tonight as the Republican candidates come together in New Hampshire for a debate on the economy. The latest Gallup poll shows Romney in the lead, Herman Cain in second, and Texas Governor Rick Perry in third. But this is one of several new web videos Perry is using to step up his attacks against Romney. It takes aim at the health care law Romney championed when he was governor of Massachusetts. Romney says he expects opponents to try to use his own words against him tonight. And CBN News will have a full report on tomorrow's 700 Club on that debate. Pat?
You know, when I was running for president, President Reagan, who had preceded us, laid down what he called the 11th commandment: thou shalt not speak ill of any fellow Republican. The job of the Republicans is to win the election, not to eviscerate each other. And what they're doing is cutting each other up, so they're weakening each other. And this thing is insanity, what they're doing. I mean, one of them may come out on top, but good for him. He's going to be a weakened candidate by the time he gets there. And they need to have harmony. They need to speak unity. They need to have one message. And if one favors lower taxes, or one's for flat tax, or one's for the 999 policy or whatever, let them enunciate that and let the people decide on that. But stop this eviscerating the fellow Republicans. It is insane. Lee.
Pat, there are no public Christian churches left in Afghanistan. CNSnews.com reviewed the State Department's latest International Freedom Report and found that the last public church was leveled in March of last year after a court failed to uphold the church's 99-year lease. Some private chapels and houses of worship of various faiths still remain on military bases and elsewhere, and the report adds there are no Christian schools left in Afghanistan. A new study claims vitamins and supplements are not really helpful and could even be bad for you. The study ties vitamins to a higher death rate among women 55 and older. It indicates that women who take certain kinds of supplements, vitamin B6, folic acid, magnesium, zinc, copper, iron, and multivitamins, have a slightly higher risk of death than women who do not take them. And researchers warn that some people may be taking too many supplements or too much of the wrong ones. The study's author writes, "We would advise people to reconsider whether they need to use supplements and put more emphasis on a healthy diet instead."
And who paid for that? The pharmaceutical companies who are making billions of dollars selling medicine, many of which are very harmful to you, and they don't want vitamins, which you can get for free. This makes me sick at my stomach. Every time you turn around and the media just jumps at it, yippee, look at this study. Who paid for it? Where did it come from? And why are they saying it? You know, Terry, this morning I took a handful of vitamins.
Well, you take vitamins regularly, but to me that doesn't even make sense. You know, as we get older, our bodies produce less naturally of what we need.
Of course.
I mean, it makes common sense to me to...
Well, I mean, for example, these statin drugs. We had Susie Cohen talking about drug muggers. These statin drugs, everybody is being prescribed Lipitor or Crestor or one of these these cholesterol-lowering drugs, and they deplete your body of a substance which will keep your heart healthy. And so you have a much higher incidence of heart attacks taking these pharmaceutical drugs. And, of course, if you've got to take them, I'd rather you didn't, but if you have to take them, then counter with CoQ10 or something, the best type of CoQ10, which is ubiquinol, and that'll balance it out. But if you deplete CoQ10 in your heart, you will have a heart attack, and that's what these drugs can potentially cause. They are very hard, and people have aches, and they have pains, and they have suffering from... You didn't hear that survey talking about that.
It's really crazy, and the side effects of some of those things are worse than the original malady.
You know, I've had the Dr. Roizen from the Cleveland Clinic, who's written some excellent books, very best-selling books about supplements, and you know they give potassium, they give various things in a place like the Cleveland Clinic to their patients because it's important. Excuse me. I'm not too keen on multivitamins. I think you don't get much out of any of them, but it's not that they're going to kill you. It's just they don't give you enough bang for the buck. But
you're right, though. Follow the money on these medical reports.
Well, that's what it is. Well, I am a fan of vitamins. Do not believe that hypocritical cant.
Britain is threatening to revoke financial aid to poor African countries that don't support gay rights. The London Daily Mail reports British Prime Minister David Cameron is trying to take a, quote, gay rights crusade to the third world. Britain has already slashed about $30 million in aid from Malawi after the African nation sentenced 2 homosexuals to 14 years of hard labor. The British government is also threatening to punish Ghana and Uganda for their laws outlawing homosexuality. Disturbing news to report from the African nation of Nigeria. Compass Direct News reports in recent weeks that more than 100 Christians have died at the hands of Muslim extremists in central Nigeria. The killings are described as hit-and-run style guerrilla attacks that have eliminated entire families in some cases. Survivors say they believe Islamic extremists are recruiting nomadic Muslims known as Fulanis to carry out the attacks. Well, you can always get the latest from CBN News by going to our website at cbnnews.com